and is recording. Beautiful. It's transcribed summaries. Just introduce whoever is present over there.
Okay. Hi, today is June 10th. This is the Parks, Recreation, Sanitation, and Environmental Protection Committee. My name is Debbie Kowalik. I'm the co-chair. To my right is
Jacqueline Lutnick.
And Julie Campbell.
and I have two presenters here to my left, and they are
Mike Porto, Bill Balloon.
the time the time now is 7:07, and this is the start of the meeting. We don't have any printouts here, so I'm just reading off the screen the conduct statement. Community Board 11 meetings must be held in a professional and hostile-free environment. The following rules of conduct are applicable to members of the public, Community Board 11, and Community Board 11 staff. Any action or behavior that disrupts or interferes with Community Board 11 business will not be tolerated during any Community Board 11 meeting and may result in the individual being asked to leave. If the action or behavior continues, this may be considered disrupting the peace, and the appropriate authorities may be summoned. If the meeting is held remotely, the person may be muted or expelled for the remainder. Repeated violations by the same person or groups of people may result in further action by the community board. All public speakers must address the full board or committee with their concerns. Electioneering for a position other than officer of the Community Board 11 is prohibited. Engaging in acts of violence or true threats expressing a serious intent to commit violence are grounds for immediate suspension of the right to attend meetings pending review by the bylaws committee. Respect the equality, diversity, privacy, and all people by respecting and valuing differences of culture and opinion. Abstain from all forms of harassment by actively discouraging it. Okay, that was that. And review of the meeting minutes. I know we had reviewed the minutes. What was it? May's minutes after May's meeting, so that was fine. So on to number 3. Orenda Energy Storage Site. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah.
Wait, and how do I get this back? Wait, where did they go? Where did they go?
Push back in the door.
Wait, I think you were in there and then.
Thank you.
Yeah,
The one to the
it's one of the temps. Yeah.
There it goes. Okay. Put me in a panic there.
So good. Well done. Well done. So can we go?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks, Debbie, Jacqueline, Junior. We have a few team members on the virtual call: Skip Pichatelli, Daniel Ferrone, and we have Nick Petrakis from ESRG, who's a fire safety consultant. And then it's myself, Mike Porto.
I did not. Thank you.
Good.
You're welcome.
I have Bill Ballou here, our VP of Construction, and our CEO just walked in, Bill Ringston. So again, thanks for the time. Do you guys have a sense of the timing, how much time we do have? And we'll obviously open it up for Q&A.
What do you need?
10, 15 minutes, not even.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, just checking. So yeah, we're happy to be here, and you can see it here. We wanted to introduce the company, introduce why we need batteries in neighborhoods, why they are safe, and then open it up to discussion about the actual project sites. And there's 2 that we're going to talk about today. Then happy to answer any questions, like you said, Debbie, about Gunhill, if there's any. I just introduced the team more or less. Like I said, so Bill's over here, I'm here, and then Bill Ballou is next to me, and then we have Nick to the right from ESRG, Skip Piscitelli as well, works for CMW, and you guys know John Sanchez. I don't think he's on, but he's been helping us, work with you all, with Jeremy. And so at this slide, we usually like to talk a little bit about the history of the company and what we're all about. So a few nice pictures of us. I like to hand it off to Bill, our co-founder and CEO, and I'll do that now.
Sure. Bill Grinstead, pleasure to meet you all. Thank you for having us here. My name is Bill Grinstead, co-founder and CEO. I founded the company in 2020, March 16th of 2020, actually.
The day of infamy.
The day of infamy. So anyway, we're focused on power infrastructure development. The largest part of our portfolio is in standalone energy storage projects. We're based in Brooklyn. We've got about 40 employees now. And one of the things that I think maybe sets us apart from a lot of infrastructure developers is that we both develop and operate, whereas a lot of developers just develop. So, when they pick a site and do the initial design and engineering, a lot of times that project, ultimately they sell on to someone else and they have no attachment to it long term. At Arenda, we have a series of teams and a process that we've thoughtfully designed because we intend to ultimately be the operators of these sites for the coming decades. These systems have useful lives of 30 to 40 years. And so we're thinking and reasoning through that sort of time frame. As I mentioned, we're vertically integrated. So on the origination side, we have modeled Con Ed's electric grid, and we have huge data sets, all of the tax lots, where all the fire hydrants are, so on and so forth. And so we're identifying locations where there's a specific need for Con Ed to support Con Ed's development of the grid, and where there are favorable siting circumstances. Then on the execution team, as opposed to outsourcing the project to what's traditionally called an EPC, a single company that does the design and the procurement and the construction, we do all of that in-house. And so we have an engineering team, we have a procurement team, we have a construction team, and our own site specification. And so we've thought about what all of the components are that are going to be installed on site, and we make sure that those are optimal for each project. And then longer term on the asset management side, we will be operating these sites. And so we'll be dispatching people to maintain them. We will have a network operating center 24/7 that's staffed. To my knowledge, we will be the only company in New York City with an operating center that's FDNY, Central Station certified, that has technology that we developed to monitor the site and to charge and discharge the assets. And is located here. There are other people that have one, but maybe it's in Houston, maybe it's somewhere else in the United States. And so, we like to think that we have a well-oiled machine, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have about our process, about the project, so on and so forth. And hopefully, this isn't our one and only meeting. We would like to, stay in touch and provide you all updates as this whole process plays out. So again, thank you for having us, and happy to answer any questions that come up.
Yeah, to that point, feel free to ask questions as we go. We have about 10 slides.
Because usually we try not to interrupt because we might get the answer.
Wow, that's very interesting.
That's the way I try to do it. You might get the answer.
We'll take that, but you can feel free to do that. You can break protocol. It's for us. And we don't expect you all to be experts on batteries. You have a couple in your community board, I'm sure. There's probably varying degrees of how much folks know. So we're happy to answer any questions here or just another time. This slide really is to sort of give a one-on-one on battery sites. At the end of the day, we're storing electricity produced at a certain time, then releasing it back into the grid at another time, for the most part on really hot days. Dense urban communities like New York City face a lot of pressure from aging infrastructure, right? Con Ed just celebrated their 200-year anniversary. There's a lot of demand. There's housing, as you all know, that's happening in the district and the city, and batteries can sort of be a tool to sort of support that work and that development. At the end of the day, this is just sort of high level stuff. They're safe and reliable. They've been around for years. There's about 30 in New York City, and there's a lot more to come. At the end of the day, every feeder, of which there are over 2,000 in the Con Ed system, should have a battery to support a neighborhood. And there's local community resiliency benefits that we'll get into, and certainly on the long-term side as well. So we can get into how it works. This is a visual just to show, basic image of when we're charging up, which is really at nighttime. When it's quieter, there's not as much demand, and then we're releasing it back. We can provide this to Debbie after. And then we're releasing it, like I said, on a hot summer day when the grid is constrained. And I should just note that the grid is a lot cleaner at nighttime, right? The peaker plants and other sort of generation is not actually firing on all cylinders. So that's where you get the clean energy benefits, in addition to sort of capturing that energy from wind and solar, when the wind is not blowing and when the sun is not shining. Any questions before we go ahead? There's really 4 benefits here. The main one, if there's anything you take away from this, there's not that many things that can bring down bills and sort of meet some of the affordability constraints that everybody's feeling. This is a way to do that. Utilities are building out their infrastructure. This actually defers a little bit of that investment. And as we said, we're storing energy when prices are low, and then when discharging during peak demand when prices are really high. So you get the sort of optimization in that regard too. And then, as mentioned, we're supporting and bolstering the grid. We're charging during off-peak hours, and then delivering electricity when demand is highest, reducing the strain on the grid on really hot days. So reducing blackouts, reducing brownouts, that type of thing. I think you guys just experienced some outages, at least in the district, after the storm that just happened yesterday.
Oh, yeah,
days ago.
because
Yeah.
trees fell on wires and blew up transformers, and
Yeah, geez.
I still see a bunch of trees down.
Yeah. And then, as I noted before, right, the peaker plants, which the Bronx has many, are just not going to be running as much because of batteries, which is just a good thing. And that's why we have, of course, neighborhoods asking for them in those areas, including obviously environmental justice and disadvantaged communities. And then supporting the local economy. Where we can, we're going to use contractors and think about workforce initiatives and programs that are going to sort of get youth and sort of local suppliers engaged in the work that we're doing. So any questions on that? You're not going to take the bait. I'm going to pass it off to Nick Petrakis. Nick is former FDNY, has a great sort of 2 slides here to talk about safety, and happy to answer any questions in that regard. Nick, you want to take it away?
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Thanks everyone for having us. My name is Nick Petrakis. Like Mike mentioned, I am the Director of Engineering here at ESRG, a fire protection engineer. And before joining ESRG, I worked for the New York City Fire Department Tech Management Unit, the civilian side, for almost 10 years. I worked alongside ESRG's principal co-founder, Paul Rogers, who retired from hazmat operations in his tenure over at the operations side. And we were part of the team that helped develop the codes and standards for ESS within New York City. I think one thing that is largely not really widely marketed, but the really robust New York City codes and standards and the process that these systems have to go through, the scrutiny that they have to go through within New York City to even be considered appropriate for installation in their site-specific environment. So like we have on the slide here, we have 30 plus facilities, operational facilities, relatively large facilities, and we've had no fire incidents. Some have been operating. I think that's really a testament to New York standards that we have. One of the big ones is the fire department's rules and the fire department's process, and it all stems down to the technology itself. It really focuses on the technology. There's a unique process in New York City called the certificate of approval, where the individual battery system itself is reviewed and approved and made sure that it is as safe as possible, and all of the functional safeties and tests and all that have been incorporated into that product. To date, FDNY has been leading the way, and I think that's a testament to the requirements that we have here. If you want to go to the next slide, perfect. So I mentioned permitting, and it's really, there's a lot of layers to it, and there's a lot of layers that are not very widely marketed, that the fire department has to review all of these on a site-specific basis. review not only the site, but review all the fire protection systems that are a part of that facility. There's a very robust requirement for what we call a certificate of fitness holder to be available 24/7. Somebody like ESRG, somebody that's immediately available. In the unlikely event that there's something happens at a facility, somebody is available to assist the fire department on a 24/7 basis. And like Michael mentioned, on top of that, there's 24/7 central station monitoring. Central monitoring is the highest level of robustness. These fire detection systems, not just for batteries, but for any fire alarm system within New York City, requires this 24/7 monitoring. Basically, if there's ever an alarm, somebody is automatically notifying the fire department. On top of that, we have regular re-inspections on a yearly basis. So these are all the different layers of safety that are incorporated significantly safe because of this process, and it's a pretty good track record within New York City. So I am here to answer any of the questions that you might have for fire or anything energy.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. Any questions? Happy to take them now. Okay, we'll wait. So maybe we'll get into the second half of the actual projects that we have in CB in the Bronx and then CB11 more specifically. So we have two that are completed. They happen to be, we were a contractor in that role. So by exception, we have that dynamic with another company, but for the most part, Gun Hill is energized this summer going into the season, which will be good for the neighborhood. Then we have two that are in development that we're certainly going to talk about more, one on Boston Road and one on Bronxdale Avenue. So just to dive into Boston Road, just some facts here. These are all commercial properties. This one in particular is 10 megawatts, a little bit bigger than Gun Hill and Bronxdale. We've calculated the savings per year, for the actual utility savings. So when you put a battery in a neighborhood, like I said, it's deferring the utility investing and sort of overbuilding the grid to meet the peak, which is only going to happen on 2 or 3 days a year. So batteries are a great sort of tool in that regard. And so in this case, this particular project will save almost $1 million per year. And then it's a $32 million investment. We talked about economic development as one of the benefits. We're investing in the Bronx and the future of the Bronx and sort of helping the Bronx meet demand. Most of our sites, where appropriate, we're going to build EV charging. And in this case, the site may be able to accommodate that as well. We're using union labor. With Gun Hill, we use Triumph Construction that's based in the Bronx, which I hope folks appreciate. And again, looking for local contractors and suppliers where we can. We're off to the races on meeting with stakeholders, including we've already met with a few folks, with Borough President Gibson. We're meeting with a council member next week. We just scheduled that a couple of days ago. Of course, we're meeting with you here. And like Bill said, we just want this to be a conversation. We're not necessarily looking for approval or support or anything official, but just want to make sure that you guys can reach out to me anytime you have an issue as small as, I don't know, pooling water in front of our site, to a question about batteries, or if someone in the neighborhood is wondering what the benefits are, or maybe even concerned about something new that's showing up in the neighborhood over the next year. Junior? Yeah.
Yes, that's what I want. The point you just hit.
Okay.
What you said, it's good for the neighborhood. Could you explain that to me?
Sure. Yeah. You want to take that?
Sure. So these energy storage systems are interconnected to electrical infrastructure that serves the load around the neighborhood. And as a result of that, as new construction or new electrical devices interconnect, they impact that peak. And so the first benefit that these systems will provide is by deferring the need to build additional infrastructure. And so, in the traditional sense, if a number of individuals bought a new electric water heater because it was cheaper to use than the gas water heater, or if an electric vehicle charging at your homes were installed, or if new homes were built, or whatever the case is, that would increase the peak in the afternoon, and Con Ed would be forced to build a new power line or dig up the roads all the way back to the substation and upgrade the power line that exists, only to be used for a few hours per year. And so if we install this energy system, overnight, when the power line that exists is underutilized, we can import energy and then dispatch that. And so that's where the savings come from. That's just the first benefit. And it is a shared benefit. It not only helps your neighborhood, it helps all of the ratepayers of New York City. And that's why Mike made that comment about really on every single power line of Con Ed's, we can solve this same problem. And if we do this everywhere, then we're talking about billions of dollars of savings. The second benefit, and albeit it's not one that exists today, but I think it's one that I hope will come down the pike, and that's being able to provide localized resilience and support. And so let's say a tree falls on an auto loop that's above ground, and that isolates a portion of service, and these people then lose service because that portion is isolated. Imagine if we had one of these batteries that were at the end of that power line and the tree falls in the middle. Well, half that power line may lose power, but if you had a battery at the end of it, that battery could dispatch and provide power to those customers that are isolated, and that could potentially prevent an outage scenario, right? Because we had energy in that battery, and so for a period of some number of hours, it would give Con Ed the chance to respond, fix the problem, and then re-energize that whole power line. And so this is a newer technology. Con Ed doesn't have the ability to provide operational support like that yet, but it's something that we're very hopeful for, so that we can increase the service, provide better service in partnership with Con Ed for all.
Thank you. Understood.
So I have a question. You're talking about newer construction, newer appliance, newer. How is that gonna benefit these buildings, many of which are almost or over 100 years old?
Yeah, so to the extent that someone buys a new air conditioner and plugs it in, and Con Ed sees that higher energy utilization, they would need to respond to what's called load growth. And so it doesn't have to be a new building. It can just be new appliances like electric scooters or e-bikes or air conditioners that are
So
used.
how would it supply that to an older building? Because I'm assuming you're not going to rewire the building.
That's right. So what we would do, generally speaking, buildings such as this one we're sitting in, the power in the walls, the wires in this building can provide a lot more power than what's typically been utilized in the past. And so the building is not the choke point. Generally speaking, the choke point is in the street. The Con Ed line is the choke point. And so if we install the battery at kind of the end of that power line, we can use the Con Ed's power line more efficiently. And as a result of that, it prevents Con Ed from having to do the construction all the way back to the substation, which, every dollar Con Ed spends, they ultimately pass through to you. So if we can use the infrastructure in the street more efficiently, it'll ultimately translate to savings to the ratepayers.
I have one other question, because around here we have a substation from Con Ed. Is there going to be any backflow, any problem, any surges or whatever for this thing being so close to Con Ed's substation?
No, and that's actually the first step of our process. And so when we identify through our own internal modeling a savings for Con Ed, if a system were to be built at a certain location, we reach out to the landowner and we get the site under site control, which is really an option to lease it long term. The next step is what typically takes about 6 months, and that's what's called a load flow study. And so our engineers work with Con Ed's engineers to understand how this system, we simulate the operation of this system on Con Ed's network. And if there are any fault issues, fault exceedances, which I think is maybe what you're referring to, we would not be allowed to build this system. Con Ed would prevent us from building it. We would fail.
So are you at the point yet where you know whether it's going to be compatible with the substation over here?
Yes, correct. Yeah, we reached that point back in 2025,
And
about a
is
year
it?
ago. Yes, it is.
What about
Yes.
pollution or anything like that from these batteries?
Uh,
A lot of elderly around here, a lot of people with lung problems.
Yeah, totally understand. And so these batteries, there's no emission from these systems. They're entirely encapsulated in a few layers. And so, if you imagine your standard AA battery, that kind of cylindrical battery, if you stack a bunch of those cylinders into a module, into like a tray, that tray is then encompassed in a steel body, and there's a cooling plate, liquid cooling plate on top and below to make sure that these batteries stay at a safe operating temperature. Then 3 of those trays are stacked up into a cube, and an inverter is bolted to the top, and that's what creates what they call a cubert. There are 28 of those that then go into what is a shipping container, a steel encased shipping container. And so to get down to the battery level, you would need to kind of go through 2 layers of steel. And so these are very safe. Now, in the worst case scenario, there are people that are concerned about, well, what if there's a thermal runaway event? What if there's a fire at these? ESRG has responded to a couple of those incidents in the nation. There are only a few that have occurred, and they've done reports, soil reports, and analyses on what the off gas would be from something like this. And what they found is that it's no different than just a standard house fire. Again, that is a terrible scenario. We do not believe that that is going to happen on our site whatsoever, and data indicates that these are safer than a standard consumer electronic device like what's in here. This is a pouch lithium ion cell that we plug in, put right next to our bed, and fall asleep with. This is more dangerous than the battery that we're installing. And so we.
I was about to say that.
We stand.
That's what you just said.
And these things are going to be all underground?
These interconnect under the ground, but they will be on concrete platforms. And so there will be like a trapezoidal concrete foundation, and these will sit right flush with the ground. The total unit is about 8.
Like, I've seen that because I was like, what are you saying? It's somehow
Yeah, just to give you a depiction.
because I'm thinking Home Depot, Tesla, but now that picture, see, I know it's gonna get my answer from your slide.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Where do you have your site now? I know where it is, but I'm saying there was this Gulf area, you know where I'm talking about, they abandoned now. You think
No. First of all, MTA owns that. We can't get MTA to let go of that.
Speak with them.
you do?
We have ongoing conversations.
Yeah,
with them.
MTA is gonna be doing their electric buses over there.
Oh, that would be, no, but I'm saying this would be nice for these things. It would be a good area. We could do a bigger,
Well, I'd love to take it. We're all for interesting, good ideas.
yeah,
So maybe we can follow up with you after the meeting.
okay, okay.
Yeah, when we talk about electrification in the future, it's buildings and transportation. So batteries are perfect fits, sort of meet that need. And to the point about, regulation, there's 3 real players: the Department of Buildings, FDY, and Con Ed. And there's a lot of interactions for a couple of years, and continuing into operations, especially with FDY. So I think you guys might recognize this, just to give you, to orient folks.
Yeah, that's why I pulled up the Google. I'm like, I'm trying to picture where that was, but there's a building now.
The buildings are empty now, and they will be demolished, the ones on the site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
What are these?
Cuddies and.
On Boston Road,
Yeah.
right near Mace.
Oh, yes, I know it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, those will be demolished.
Not yet, yeah.
Okay.
This
Don't
one,
they have that car on the roof?
No, it's across the street.
um,
Are they going to be demolished because of this project, or they were going to?
yeah, well, it's a private agreement between the landowner and those businesses, but, yeah, we have to do that in the next, couple of months. Boston and for Bronxdale would happen actually within 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. That process takes about a month or so. That's all regulated by the DOB. It's a common.
The one that you say Bronxdale, that's
There's another one here.
technically not on, is that the one that's technically not on Bronxdale? It's off to the side of it?
It's the triangle here, if you can see it, Bronxdale and Pierce, where it comes together. near the Van Ness, the Con Ed Van
Yeah,
Ness.
it was some sort of mechanical garage thing. I drove my school bus there.
Oh, really?
And I'm like waiting for this thing to get torn down.
It's,
I seen the green fence.
That's good.
yeah, it's a bit of an eyesore. Yeah. So, you guys.
Okay.
Soon, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
We'll be providing you notice shortly that that will be starting soon.
Well, I
So
think
what's
you
the next
got the
one?
notice that you guys were given permission for the demolition.
You got it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys use all union contractors?
Yes, we do.
Okay, that's good.
So as you can see, there's the stats for the breakdown for Bronxdale. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so I noticed you, all right, Bronxdale I know is Abido, but the Boston Road, is that Abido or is that Riley?
I believe it's addable, but if you have better information, depending on what website you use, we don't use AI for that, but there is a trusted website we use, who represents me.
Right.
So we're going to be with addable.
Yeah, because some areas it's like depending on what side of the yellow line you're on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Same with Gun Hill, right? So, yeah. So like I said, we're going to be with her in the next couple of days, and we've seen her around at events. We're a member of the Bronx Chamber, and we've told her about it, but we just want to have a sit down with her soon. Okay, and I think it goes without saying, we'll meet with anyone that wants to sort of find out about the job or batteries in general. I think we'd like to meet with the Morris Park Association. I'm not sure anyone's represented right now by them, but if you all can introduce us, we'd be happy to talk to them.
I think we're trying to get them to come
Yeah,
too,
that's what I
but
thought.
yeah.
And then existing conditions, Debbie, like you said, this is, that corner.
Yeah.
And then next steps, just to reiterate, sort of summarize and wrap this up. As we said, demo construction is going to start this summer. Bronxdale sooner than later. Boston will follow after that. At the end of the day, we just want to be a good neighbor. As Bill mentioned, these are long-term projects. We're talking decades, not years. And then I think we just had this idea, if you guys want to learn more about batteries and what more or less they'll look like or how they'll be operationalized, we'd be happy to do something at the Gun Hill site if you haven't done that already or just want to sort of get acquainted with that site, even just from the sidewalk. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but we'd be happy to do that just so you have a sense of the safety protocols and all the sort of permits that we go through and how we're going to maintain the site, that type of thing. So
I'd be down for that.
okay. Yeah.
So is that site under 24-hour security?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Somebody's watching right now. We can pull it up on our phone and see
that's good.
what's going on with that.
Because
I think it was-
some crazy people will go and do some crazy things.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah.
I hope not, but at the end of the day, they are being maintained
Okay.
all the time. And if for some reason you think that there's something we need to take care of, if there's graffiti, just let us know.
Okay.
If not, we would see it maybe before you.
Okay.
And here's my contact information. You guys have my card. Again, no question too small. We'd be happy to sort of meet with anyone that would like to. And that's about it. You
Nice
Jay,
presentation.
Well, we're not getting there yet.
Oh.
We're not getting there yet.
Yeah.
I know you kind of touched upon, but because I wrote it down, I'm asking it again anyway. I know, like, if I have my phone on a car mount in the car, and now with the sun, and the sun's beating down on my phone, I know my phone's getting hot.
Yep.
My phone's getting hot.
Yep.
How exactly are you protecting these batteries
Yep.
from the sun? That they're not getting swollen and ready to explode?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I would say the first thing that we think about is the system itself. And so for these sites, we've selected the Tesla Megapack 2 XL. It's a system that we think is far superior than others on the market, and its losses are the lowest. And what you're experiencing when your phone gets hot when you charge it is the loss of energy, the inefficiency of the battery or the wires, and that's being expelled through heat as opposed to going into the cell. And so choosing a really well-designed system is the foundation of everything. And so we've selected the Tesla Megapack 2. Now, second, we are exploring, the second is preventing unnecessary heat from entering the system. And so we're exploring whether or not shading is an option for us. There are obviously fire department regulations that inhibit the design of the system. And so we're working through that with the fire department. But then assuming that that doesn't exist, these systems have heat exchangers. You can think of that as like an industrial air conditioner. And these are liquid cooled systems. And so it would be similar to thinking like this is the battery cell and there's a enclosed liquid plate on top and below. And then there are tubes that water gets pushed into and then pulled out of those cooling plates. And so there's liquid on every single battery cell in this system that's maintaining that temperature. On top of that, then there are temperatures for each one of those trays. So there are 28 cuberts. There are 3 trays per cubert. And so there are about just under 100 of these temperature sensors. And to the extent that the temperature goes outside of the predetermined bound, then a notice would be sent, and that system would be turned off in a worst case scenario to prevent that from getting hotter than it should. And so to circle back kind of to your question, how are these systems different relative to kind of your phone that's in the sun? There's a temperature sensor that turns it off if it starts getting hot. There's liquid cooling plates that maintain that temperature. And they're encapsulated in multiple layers of steel containers.
You mentioned shading. I'm trying to maybe do some sort of shading. Have you thought of doing, I know some malls and some supermarkets, they do solar power over the parking lot. So, I mean, wouldn't this kind of be like a perfect thing that you get the solar power and like charge up your battery?
Exactly. This is exactly what we're thinking. It's not something that we've seen done before in the city, but that's exactly the request that we're making.
Because I've seen a lot of the, I think almost all Key Foods have the solar power on their roofs.
Yeah.
In the city here.
Well,
So,
yeah,
whether it's on their roof or in Pelham Bay, it's over their parking lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've seen those canopies over the parking spots, and I think it looks great. I think it provides great shade for parking. It's something that we would love to do for our systems as well. I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Any
other questions?
Yeah.
Do you have any systems in the city, in Manhattan?
No.
Are you planning on?
Yes, we're actually in the lease negotiation right now with a very large condo complex there that has a bunch of extra parking space, and so we're thinking about putting one of these systems there. Our energy storage systems, though, are not as energy dense as the CHP power generation options that very tall buildings have. Unbeknownst to, I think, many of the people that work and live in Manhattan, a lot of the buildings effectively have like a jet engine bolted to it, either on the top or in the basement. And those things turn on and produce tens of megawatts of power to help them peak shave or load balance in very much the same way that these battery systems are helping peak shave or load balance. And so, just juxtaposing what we're doing versus, say, putting a jet engine on top of a building and firing that puppy up, it's a very delicate act for them to maintain those systems. So that's since they're more energy dense, that's the primary method of providing that load balancing in Manhattan.
And you said that the fire department and the medicine is working together. You're working together with the fire department.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And, it starts very early on in the design of the system. There are a series of permits through many of them through the technical management unit. And so there's the ESS permit for the actual system. There's a fire alarm permit to make sure that we have the correct alarm and safety measures in place. A fire sprinkler permit to make sure that the spray pattern and the volume of water that would come out in the event of any scenario is sufficient enough, so on and so forth. So there are about 6 permitting pathways, multiple different teams that we work with. And then in addition to that, prior to us actually beginning the operations of the term, prior to beginning the operations of the system, we do walkthroughs with the local station that would be responding to that site. There's a whole hazard mitigation analysis plan that's submitted and approved, just so that we have, you know, the utmost amount of preparation and planning to make sure that we're being responsible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What does BESS stand for?
A battery energy storage system.
Any water that you use, where does it go?
The water that we use would only be in the event that there is some sort of issue, like a thermal event. That water would ultimately flow down into the stormwater retention system that we have on site. Generally speaking, we excavate about 6 feet deep, and that's where all the conduit for the electrical systems is laid. And then we backfill with crushed stone. And so that effectively turns that site kind of into like a bathtub that then would drain into the street, or, you know, in the Bronx, it's pretty rocky. And so a lot of times.
Referring to the battery, the water that you mentioned.
Any water that you're using, would it pick up any toxins, and can it somehow wound up in our water system?
No.
Because they're dealing with a whole bunch of Allen Island.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So we're not using any water for these systems. There is a mixture that is in each one of these 5 containers, and on this site there's going to be 10 of these containers that are installed, 10 or 12. And within there's a compartment where a solution is, and I think that solution is probably like 50% water and 50% like some sort of mineral oil or something like that. That solution is fully contained in the system, and it's a closed loop system. It just circulates.
So there's no way to get into our water system.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, and you all know New York City, right? Doesn't have, its potable water is one pipe and then sewage is another. So it's completely different. It's not like Long Island where they have aquifer, you know, all the other different sort of methodologies. New York is very different in that respect.
Yeah, we have had problems with water running off. That's why I'm asking.
With runoff? Yeah.
There was a big landfill near Orchard Beach.
Yeah.
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 Which is pretty nasty.
The dump.
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any health risks that you have analyzed? Have you done any analysis on any possibility of health risks?
On the batteries.
Yeah, the only notable risk that we see for a system like this is a thermal runaway event, and the probability of that again is less than any consumer electronic device, and so it's extremely remote. With that in mind, even though there is some risk, that informs the types of batteries that we purchase, the chemistry of the battery that we purchase. These are lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are much more durable and much safer than a nickel manganese cobalt battery. They're nickel manganese cobalt in cars because the energy density is greater, and so it provides better mileage, I guess is what we would say in cars terms. But those are more susceptible to thermal runaway. And so, like I said, the only risk that we really see is a thermal runaway event, but we think that is extremely unlikely and very remote. And in the event that there was one, it would be at the cell level. And the fire department has tested these systems and forced them to go into thermal runaway and proven that the fire does not spread outside of the container. And so it would be totally controlled.
Yeah. And you could see at the site, you know, at Gun Hill and just standard procedure for all of them, those are the sprinklers on top. So
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate it. Debbie, you all have my card, so we can set up a walk shop and see who wants to come.
Yeah.
kind of take it from there. So,
Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
definitely down for that,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I would definitely appreciate if you could forward the
a
slide.
copy.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we'd
Cool.
be happy to do
Yeah.
that.
What I handed out was 2 sheets, and if someone didn't get them, let us know. Just so
I
that
didn't get the second sheet.
you didn't get the
Only the
second one.
second
Yeah,
sheet.
you got this is
I only got this one.
there's just about batteries.
Oh, I
And,
didn't get that one.
okay. It's about batteries, then also just some FAQs that might come up. So.
I don't think she needed
Yeah,
it back.
I,
okay.
yeah, I needed this
Do you have any recommendations, Debbie, for anyone who we should talk to, or maybe we'll talk offline?
one. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were trying to get Morris
Yeah.
Park because they would be covering over the Bronxdale area.
Okay.
But also, like I said, I wasn't sure if some of your areas is Abbott or Riley, but have you also reached out to Riley? Because some of those areas, it
Yeah.
may be an Abbott district.
Yeah, Richard,
but-
deadline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, boundary. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We should definitely do that.
And, assembly members, senator, we'll meet with anyone, and we'll eventually meet with, I think, everyone, from, all the way up to probably the congressperson.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
All right.
Yeah, because initially when I'm hearing the battery stuff, I was thinking the Tesla charging stations.
Oh, really?
So that's what, when I was initially hearing battery stuff.
Yeah.
Battery charging.
That's not entirely untrue, because like I said, we will be able to put chargers here eventually, which would be an asset to the neighborhood.
I mean, how would the Boston Road, how would you be getting cars there?
Western Road on Mace.
Yeah, how would they, yeah, well, I mean, once they tear down the building, I mean,
There could be some space, to the left. Right?
Yeah, we're thinking that there's going to be additional space up front, in front of the systems and next to the system. We understand there's a Dunkin' Donuts, I believe, in that shopping center, and then also maybe a pizza shop, if I'm
Yeah.
remembering correctly.
and I think a Chinese food place.
Potentially a laundromat around the corner, if I'm
Yeah.
remembering this
Did
correctly.
my laundry there when my daughter was little.
And so that additional space, there are a couple things that we would like to do that we're exploring. One is placing some EV chargers there. And then second, we'll see what else we can do. But talking to a few people in the community to see how we could use maybe some of that additional space.
Yeah, because I know that area of land, even by your drawing, it's very odd shaped.
Yeah,
It's very odd shaped, but yet I do know across the street, the place with the car that was on top just went up for sale.
yeah.
That seems more makes sense, but I guess you're already in contract with
We're already.
that one.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why is it that the savings versus the investment is so much big? Like the investment is $32 million on this one, but the other one was much, much smaller, but the savings was just half of it or something like that. Like I feel like the ratio is so different. I'm just wondering why. Like this one versus the Gardner one
If
or Bronxton. Sorry.
so at Boston Road, we're building a 10 megawatt system, and so it's twice the size. In addition to that, given some of the site features, there's additional civil work that's required, and so the per project cost, you have a good eagle eye, the per project cost is a little bit higher than the other one. So so that's what is pushing the CapEx number up higher. The savings on the systems, because this system is twice as large as the other system, should be about 2x.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Good eye.
Well, for me, everything seems kind of microscopic over there, so. Which is why I wanted a copy.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, what else do we got on?
Bye
here?
now.
Okay, gallery. Alright, all right, just before I head over to gallery, I guess parks related or environmental related. The New York City will be doing a mosquito spraying June 8, 9, and 10. And today's the 10th. So tonight they're going to be spraying what they call Pelham Bay Park North and Pelham Bay Park South. Pelham Bay Park South is what people know as where the playground, the grass, the monument, all of that. That's what they refer to as Pelham Bay Park South. Pelham Bay Park North, according to their map, is the area of swamp or whatever you want to call it, that's over within the Hutchinson River that's facing Co-op City and is alongside the Hutchinson River Parkway. It's not they're not actually spraying over at Orchard Beach because that's also Pelham Bay Park North, but they're spraying more by the Hutchinson River Parkway. So if you're driving and you see a low-flying helicopter, that's what they're doing.
Okay.
I got caught in one of those some years back, and it sent me to the hospital. Yeah, as an asthmatic, not cool. Another update, DSNY, also known as Sanitation, has delayed on doing their fines until they're giving warnings up until September 7th. Fines will start on September 8th. There was a person that had emailed the board and it was forwarded to me, and I believe the person also had put something in the chat about a tree root situation. Parks is, unfortunately, Parks is heavily underfunded. But supposedly their statement came back that they're on year 3 of their 7-year cycle. So there's not much that Parks is really going to do now about that particular tree. We can see if we can kind of push Parks to take care of that particular tree. I know the person does not want their address mentioned publicly, so I'm not mentioning it publicly. But they know who they are, and let me see. It was also brought up last month, and it was brought to our attention again. The sediment erosion on the Pelham Parkway path. I have not heard anything further back from Parks Department. I will push them again to find out what's going on with the sediment erosion in the low-lying areas of the path. So like between Eastchester and Williamsbridge Road, the lowest point is near the hospital. Between Eastchester and Stillwell, the low points are kind of around Kingsland, I think. And it's hazardous for all. It's hazardous is if you're walking, you're riding a bike, riding toy scooter or whatever. And on the pathway, it was told to me that it's not necessarily the roadway, but the pathway by the 911 call center. Between Pelham.
That is the Hutch.
the 911 call center right by the Hutch
Yes.
on Pelham Parkway between Stillwell and the Hutchinson River Parkway.
Yeah.
The pathway itself, where people walk and all of that, there are numerous potholes. I mean, we're used to saying potholes for a car, but no, there's numerous craters in the road, in the pathway.
Okay.
So we need parks
To
to address that.
Yeah.
Many people coming at me with the lighting along Bronx Park East. I really don't. That's like nobody wants to take possession of it. You know, is the lighting under DOT transportation? Is the lighting under parks? Who is in charge of the lighting? Nobody's taking possession of, okay, here, let's fix it. We got it. That has to get addressed. That has to get addressed. And then there was numerous mobile car washes that were brought to our attention. I don't know if Effie from DEP can help us out, or if that's got to be brought up to actually the 4-9 council, because it's on the street.
That would be the part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned near Marin, near Allerton Avenue, near Bronx Park East, near the Coops. That one I've seen. The one by the Coops I've seen.
Brady and White Plains Road.
I think that may, near Marin. That may be the one that, yeah.
Oh no, there's another one by Marin. There's
Okay.
2 in that area.
And Baker and White Plains Road, which I was like, huh? Then when I Google map it, across the street from Con Ed, by the Blue Bridge.
Oh.
yeah. And that one I've seen too. So yeah, we got to find out who exactly is in charge of handling these. I know the one on White Plains Road by Sagamore. After digging and pushing, I found out they have a permit.
Okay.
So that one's got a permit. So we got to find out if these guys got a permit or they don't.
Well, I imagine the one on Marin may not be here this summer because remember they're building there. So it's all that construction going on over there.
Right.
But the one on Brady, yeah, I don't know if he has a permit or not. And he uses the fire hydrant.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, who do we get to go address it and when?
I know last year I spoke to Malcolm from the bid. But I'm not
For-
sure who he spoke to.
For Marin?
For Brady.
Okay.
You know, the fire hydrant is
Well, Brady and Marin would both be in his area.
Yeah, they're in his area. The bid goes from Brady to Parkway North. I think to where
Dunkin'
the supermarket
Donuts?
is. Maybe it either cuts off at Dunkin' Donuts or the supermarket. I'm not sure which one.
Wakanzo's?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or whatever its name is now.
That I'm not sure.
I still know it as Gonzo's.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Were there any? You're bringing up Brady.
Well, my pet peeve with Brady can't be fixed. So the grading of the street needs to be fixed, and they don't seem to be doing that. There's always ponding on the corner of Brady and White Plains
Well,
by
that's-
that supermarket.
That would be
Not supermarket, that-
transportation.
No, actually, Malcolm got it all the way down to them checking it, and they said it's the grading of the street, but nobody's talking about fixing it, so it just floods
Yeah,
all the time.
sounds like Molina.
Mm.
They did the road they put the new roadway and then it basically made no curb line and then goes flooding into the people's houses.
Yeah, well, they thought it might have been the sewer, but it's not the sewer. It's the way that the grade of the street. So I guess they have to do the street over, and that don't seem to be on anybody's watch list.
Oh, Charles
Hi,
has,
Debbie, can I jump in really quick?
yeah.
I'm not sure if you're gonna know anything about this, but I did happen to come across a post from another council person in another borough about the disconnection of the downspouts in in the private homes. And there had been talk about fines being a thing that was kind of impending. I believe that DEP may be kind of pausing it for the moment. They're still encouraging people to do the disconnection, but
Right. I
yeah,
got,
yep.
I got an email from Effie a couple of months back when there was the big whole uproar of that. And DEP is not going out and finding people on those issues at the moment. At the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, Charles, can you hear us? Or do I have to unmute you?
I can hear you. Yeah, I've been taking notes.
Okay, do you have any update on the sediment erosion on Pelham Parkway, the pathway that was mentioned the other month? And it's still,
I did flag it for some of my colleagues. Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have a game plan right now for, I wish I could give you a better answer, but I am going to raise it again and we're going to see what we could do. Again, if, I know last meeting, I asked if you have like a map, like an aerial map of specifically where it is, like if you had like a Google screenshot of where all of these little, the erosion spots are, the potholes. I mean, I know they're not potholes, but the indentations in the pavement. If you can provide any of those, that'll be very helpful for when I forward it to my colleagues.
okay, yeah, because the computer that I have access to during the day, I do not know how to do a screenshot on it, nor do I know how to draw on it. I'm very 19, I don't know, something or other. So I gotta find somebody young to help me out on that part. But yeah, also the potholes, or not potholes, whatever you want to call it. I know it's kind of iffy is it CB10 or CB11, but as far as I know, this particular area I mentioned is CB11. It's basically over the Amtrak, and it's like nobody wants to help fix it. Nobody wants to help clean it to help fix it. And it's a hazard. And even people as simply as walking, when it's nighttime, they're not going to see these holes in the sidewalk, in the ground, and they're going to trip, fall, and hurt themselves. Charles?
Yeah, got it. Sorry, just taking notes again.
All right,
Yeah. Heard loud and clear again. Whenever you can get those images to me, that'll be very helpful. Appreciate it.
Also, because I know Parks is in charge of the forestry and tree roots. Were you privy to the email of a particular person in the Van Ness area? I'm not saying addresses, but a tree root situation and uneven sidewalk. Were you privy to that email?
Only very, very, very recently was I made aware of that. Our forestry, our tree guys, they're like the left hand, and my guys, the operations team, are like the right hand. We each kind of do what we got to do, and sometimes we work together. but yeah, so I'm now aware of the issue. My understanding is that, like you said, as part of that 3 of 7 year cycles, these things, the tree gets inspected, the conditions of the area, they get put into a rating system of how urgently the work needs to get done, and it goes into contract to get that work done. And if for some reason it would not get done within that time span, then they'll inspect it again and it'll get put back onto the list. But yeah, so I'm aware of it now. It's going to be on my radar. But yeah, that is a whole kind of separate process. Our guys don't even necessarily do that. That goes out to contract.
Right, because I was under the understanding that, all right, like in yesteryear, if trees were uprooting people's sidewalks, people had to go and fix the sidewalk themselves. But then a few years back, forgot which mayor signed it in or whatnot, that the city is responsible for fixing the sidewalk. Now, on my way here, I purposely drove by this particular address, and only looking from the distance of my car in the street to the sidewalk, I could see greatly that this is a trip hazard and danger. So is there any way for parks and their contractors to expedite and fix this situation for that particular homeowner?
Unfortunately, the process is the process. There is no way for me to put my thumb on the scale and speed up the process. Sorry.
Okay. I appreciate the honest answer. I definitely appreciate an honest answer. Okay. Yeah. The lighting on Bronx Park East, is that Parks or is that DOT?
Is this sorry, that's slightly outside of my district. Are you talking about the lights that are on, like, adjacent to the road, or lights that are within the park itself?
The person wasn't too clear to me. Yeah, unfortunately, the person was not clear enough to me, whether they're talking the street or the pathway. So I will email and get back to you when I get clarification on that.
Okay, just for reference, the quickest way to get a light outage corrected is actually going to be through a 311 report. I know everybody's tired of putting in 311 reports, but it is actually the most expedient way to get that resolved, because it automatically gets routed to whichever agency has jurisdiction over that specific item or area, and it's easier for us to keep track of it. So I would recommend to the constituent to definitely file a 311 if they have not done so already, and it should get allocated to the appropriate agency.
Yeah, the person that brought this to my attention is somebody that has 311 on speed dial. So I know if it's more of an outage thing, I know they did the 311. It may be more of lack of light structures. Like there's not enough light structures to emanate more lighting in the area. So, like I said, when I get more clarification on that, I will get back to you on that one.
Thanks.
Huh?
Is this number available?
Charles, do you got a number, a phone number available that you can share publicly?
Yes, I do. Give me 1 minute. Let me go pick up that number. My office number just changed.
Okay. Okay. And all right. So, anybody else want to speak in the gallery? Are there any hands? Nope.
Nobody.
Okay, no. Okay, just. Ooh,
Hi, Debbie. Sorry, I'm just checking my emails. Just since Charles is on.
yeah.
I wasn't able to remain for the full meeting. I was not sure how long, blah, blah. I addressed the Parks Department in the chat. I did not leave my address. I'm not sure how safe that would be, but I described the situation with the sidewalk. What,
Cynthia,
can I
I know.
finish reading?
That's the one I was referring to.
Yes,
Right, that's the one I was referring to that I talked to with Charles. That particular person is also the one in the email. I was not publicly disclosing her address, but that is the person with the tree root situation I was just talking with Charles about.
what, I'm sorry, what was the response? I missed that part. I had my kid talking.
It's the situation for that particular constituent is Park's initial email back for that situation is it's on year 3 of a 7-year cycle, and there's nothing Parks can do right now to be speeding that up. There's 4 more years.
This is about the tree root that's lifting up the
Yes.
sidewalk, that
Yes.
somebody tripped and hurt themselves?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
No, I'm shaking my head too. Yeah. Yeah. Carrie, I see you have a hand raised.
Hi, good evening. I may be able to answer a couple of the things that you mentioned, but I'm going to need more than 2 minutes because something took place today. That might answer one of them. I actually had a couple of questions for the gentleman that made the presentation. I see at least one of them is still present on the screen on my phone. It's really, you guys are just in like this little box. Okay, so I wanted to thank you guys for choosing union labor. We have a lot of issues here in the Bronx, like my ex-husband and my son chose construction originally as a career path, but it is so hard, to get into the union and to find union jobs. I want to thank you for that. Another thing I wanted to bring up was we are, and it's another thing I'm going to talk about in a second, with the Amtrak and Metro North new train stations, there are going to be new, Einstein is building essentially a new hospital building, right? That's going to take more power.
Hey, this is not the transportation meeting. I'm sorry.
It has nothing to do with that. My question has to do with the apartment buildings.
Hey,
I'm asking an energy question if you would allow me to finish asking my question. It's the gallery session. I have a right to address questions. Okay, the new buildings that are going to be built in terms of apartment buildings and stores, is there any, with the grid that you're building, are you going to be able to give power to them too? Because I have a feeling they're going to draw an awful lot of energy, these new projects. There's going to be more people living here, more people working here, more people coming in and out. Will you
Yes.
be able to accommodate this?
Yeah, this is an example of additional load that would ultimately need to be served by the electric grid, whether that's a new train station or a new apartment building. Both of those things would increase the load, and as a result of that, then Con Ed would study the local grid, and if an upgrade were required, that would trigger capital expenditure. And as a result of that, those expenses would get passed through to the ratepayers. Our systems ultimately increase the efficiency of the infrastructure that's in place. I don't know exactly, the dynamic of the load that's planning to come online in this network. but our systems would help most efficiently use what's here. And so you are right. You know, our systems would help kind of blunt any additional cost that construction would ultimately create.
Excellent, because
Thanks for
I
your question,
live in
Kat.
the area, so it would affect, we had a transformer like go on fire last week and we were out of power for a day here, and it's very concerning. Another question is, in relation to transformers, that's solely Con Edison, or you guys are gonna upgrade transformers too?
On our site, we will be stepping the power down from 13.2 kV to 480 volts. And so we, on our site, will have 4 transformers feeding 4 strings, stepping the power down from 13.2 to 480. Those transformers, though, are solely for the use of our site. We won't be, we have no place in upgrading any other transformers that are not specifically on our property.
Transformer, okay. And the next thing I wanted to say is I was approached by a young woman when I was leaving my job. I work on Stillwell Avenue in a nursing home, and she was handing out flyers, a construction bulletin. Penn Station access is critical, blah, blah, blah. Construction activities on Amtrak right-of-way near Stillwell and Eli Avenue. So what it says here is the project itself, right? The crews will be entering the ROW via access point east of 1682 Stillwell behind United Cerebral Palsy for children and adults, which is actually ADAPT now. While construction activities will be contained within the road, there will be an increase of trucks and other sorts of activity, which may address what Debbie and other people were talking about earlier, why certain things are not going to be fixed right now, because technically it's going to be, if it hasn't already started, it's right, surrounding area during the work hours of 6:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. starting in mid-June. So like in another week or so, they're going to start construction there. So that may address one of the concerns that you had. And so, and as far as the lighting on Bronx Park East is concerned, the community development meeting last night, they talked about the district needs budget. And you can ask Cynthia on that because I attended that meeting. And some of the things that they asked for have been declined, and Bronx Park East is one of them. They don't have the budget at this time. So whatever lighting concerns, it may be past 2027, but the budget goes through to 2027. So they're probably not going to get what they need on Bronx Park East. And that's about it, what I had to say. I'm sorry I took more than 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, seeing it's almost 8:30 and I know the next plan. Go next. Hold on, let me see. There was no motions.
No.
Even if there was motion, we don't have enough people here. Old business was already mentioned, new business was already kind of mentioned.
Old business.
So, like I said before, I know there's a game being played. It's 8:24, and I make a motion, even though we can't make a motion, but I make a motion that this meeting is over. Do I hear a second? 8:25. This meeting
Have a
is
good
over.
summer.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you very much.